it's all about the strategies for selling to lease customers. That's what this is all about. We've done lease buyouts, and we did service contracts, and talking to everybody, we decided to talk about how to sell on the lease customer. And I'll share some stuff with you. It's all about raising awareness. Just because you're leasing the vehicle doesn't mean that the customer doesn't face the same perils of ownership that a customer that's paying cash or finances the car. So awareness is the state of being conscious of something, and more specifically, it's the ability to directly know and perceive, to feel, or to be, what's that word? Know about the event.
Cognizant.
Yeah. We are the subject matter experts, all right? Financial services managers, the guys from SDS, the guys from Product Prep. We are the subject matter experts. So we need to know the features and benefits of what I'm going to call lease enhancements, because there's a number of products that definitely work specifically for a lease. Bundles, excess wear. I know it's a little different in New York. We have New Jersey dealers. We have other dealers outside of New York. And then there's that, what I like to call mechanical gap. You call it a multi-shield, or it's actually the elite free care that pays for maintenance items and stuff. So they all have various coverages. They all have various terms, and they all pay for damage and defects. And what's that mean? That means it pays for painless dent removal. It pays for windshield coverages. There's different windshield coverages as well. There's the contract that just pays for the chip or crack, and then there's something that could be applied to the windshield. We're going to cover both of them and what that does for the consumer, what it does for the lease customer. Then there's nationwide coverage, so it's good anywhere in the country. And we also often talk about proactive versus reactive. Are you going to be a proactive participant in this or a reactive participant in this? So proactive means you buy the products and pay it, fix things as you go. Reactive is you buy the excess wear and tear and you pay at the end, or they pay at the end. It provides, most of these programs do provide rental car towing, and some of them do provide trip interruptions. So these are just some of the features of the programs, and they all have unlimited claims. Now, with regard to the benefits, peace of mind is the number one benefit that comes to mind whenever any of the products that we have available in the F&I office. But there's minimal or no out-of-pocket expense, and this is something that you can explain to the customer. There's a number of features to enhance your lease experience, and I can go over a number of coverages that are available to you. There's different terms, so we have everything to match your lease term that you have right now, and it's all going to pay for defects and damage and defects from other people, defects from road hazards. It's good anywhere in the country, and if the car is tied up in the shop, they're going to provide you a rental car. If it has to be towed because it's got a flat, they're going to tow it in. And in some cases, if you're away from home and the car gets tied up, especially today where parts are always on order and hard to get, you may be tied up at a hotel for a while, unable to get back home. They'll pay for trip interruption, and you can claim as many claims as you want. Now, that's what I call peace of mind. And that allows you to have minimal or no out-of-pocket expense. It's relief for unexpected charges at lease end. Because when you turn your lease, especially today, with the way the market fluctuates and everything, lease companies are not as flexible as they had been in the past. They're more rigid. And they're going to charge you for stuff that you're going to have to pay for on a vehicle you just simply don't own. These are refundable programs. Keep in mind the refund in most of these programs, if you had made a claim, they will take out that claim. So it's a pro rata refund depending on the term of the miles. They're cancelable, so you can cancel them at any time and get that pro rata refund back. And if you do buy out the lease or sell the lease or go lease another car, or someone takes over your lease, these products are transferable to the next owner. So those are some lease enhancements, features and benefits of all the enhancements that we have available in the F&I office. There's probably a couple more, but I didn't want to bore you with the details. There was a time when we talked about essential and non-essential spending. What are we actually talking about? Essential expenses are the expenses that are required for living. They're required for leasing a vehicle. Non-essential expenses are those extra things you spend money on. In addition, essential expenses may be broken down into fixed expenses and variable expenses. Those fixed expenses are expenses that are the same each month. So the point I'm trying to make here is everybody that leases or finances a car or buys a car has essential spending. And those essential spendings are number one, they have to make the payment. Number two, they have to put gas in the car. Number three, they have to maintain it if they want to keep it running. And they have to insure it in every state. The vehicle has to be insured. So that's the essential spending or expense that's going on in a vehicle. Non-essential, especially with a lease, you don't want to replace a tire, pay to have a tire replaced. That's non-essential spending. That's money thrown out in the wind. The only one who's going to benefit from the non-essential expenses on a lease is the lease company or the next owner of the vehicle. You don't want to have to pay to have a rim repaired. You don't have to want to pay for dings or dents, windshield repairs, soiled interior, lost keys, lost owner's manuals, fuses, belts, or hoses, battery replacement, accident damage, excess use or wear, in miles. Some of these programs do pay for excess miles up to a certain amount. So when we talk about what you have to spend on a car or a lease versus what you don't have to spend, you want to fix the cost by applying these products to the lease or enrolling in these options so that you have a fixed cost each month for this lease. Because after all, you don't own the vehicle unless you plan on buying it out. And that leads to the next slide. We need to gather really important information from our customer in order to really sell them, to get an understanding of why they're leasing, their driving habits, their driving traits. So once we present the options that are available to the customer, we're able to come back, circle back around, circle the wagons back around and say, look, you told me this or you mentioned to me this before, and I think it's important that you enroll in these programs or reconsider your decision because, to recommend something without any knowledge of the customer's driving habits or driving traits, it's air. It doesn't matter to the customer. In fact, the customer looks at it and you go, how can you recommend something, unless you're going to come out to my house and blow my tire up. So have you leased in the past? Regardless if you know if they have or not. I mean, unless you know them personally or you know that customer, you should always ask that question. Have you leased vehicles in the past? You want to open up a dialogue with the customer because you never know where that dialogue is going to take you, and you never know what the customer may say to you that's going to allow you to use later on to close them on a product. What do you consider the benefits of leasing the vehicle? Make it conversational. Leasing's great. I was curious as to what you see as the benefits of leasing. You open the door here. They might say, well, I'm on the factory warranty all the time. So they're telling you that they care about not having to spend money on incidentals that could happen. They may say to you that it's really convenient, that I don't like to spend that much time. I don't like to spend that much time in the same car. They may say to you, I put very low money. Whatever they say, it could be beneficial to you later on when going to close the deal. So what will you be doing at the termination of your lease when your lease is over? 1, 2, 3 Mississippis. If they don't answer you in the manner that you want, will you be buying the vehicle or doing something else with it? Maybe giving it to a grandchild or a son off to college. A lot of people do that. You'd be surprised. Every vehicle I leased while my son was going to college, I would give to him to drive when I was done. It was just that simple. How often do you like to perform routine maintenance on your vehicle? That shows an indication the customer does care about their vehicle. Some people may say whenever the light comes on, or how often do I have to do it? And that leads into, we have a number of maintenance programs if in fact you do offer maintenance, which I know many of you do. What type of driving do you do? Is it primarily city, rural, or highway? You're not going to get many off-road vehicles on a lease, but the reason you're asking that question is because you can get an idea of the type of roads that they're driving on when you go to sell a road hazard policy or something like that. Any debris, they're always on a highway. They're always, on rural roads. There's a lot of debris on these roads. Do you plan on taking any road trips in the vehicle? That's an trip interruption. They like to take long trips. The inconvenience of having a vehicle break down while they're away. Again, these questions are only giving you an opportunity to have information that you can use later when you go, not to present the product so much, because the presentation should always remain the same, just like the song should always remain the same, but it's how you address their concerns at the end when you say which option works best for you. And that's where it all starts, by the way. What's your insurance deductible? ladies and gentlemen, I love this one. And the reason I love this one, because it's a complete indication of the type of customer that's sitting in front of you. I mean, if someone says, now I know you have to have a 500 deductible on a lease, but if they say, well, I have a 500, and the way they say it, they're saying that they'd rather pay a higher premium up front and then have to be faced with paying $500 if something were to happen. That's what I call the risk-o-meter. If someone looks at you and says, I got a $1,000 deductible, they're telling you they'd rather pay the $1,000 because they don't anticipate anything happening. So it's just an indication of the type of buyer that you have sitting in front of you. Here's another one. What do you think about all the latest technology and safety features of the vehicle? Look, you can look at these questions and say, what's the relevancy of these questions? But you'd be surprised by asking these questions, the dialogue that comes out of a customer's mouth, and how you can extend that dialogue to become meaningful when you go to present and when you go to sell them product. Now, the lease is set up for 36 miles, for 15,000 miles a year, 10,000 miles a year. Do you feel you meet or exceed those miles? Look, there's nothing wrong. I've done it many times as a finance manager. I'm sure John and Steve have done it many times, gone into a situation where they ask these questions. The next thing you know, you're restructuring the deal. You're changing things around, and now you're making more money than they did in the front end. We need to know, as financial services managers and coaches, we know how deals are manufactured on the showroom floor. And they're manufactured at a very lax attitude. How much you want to spend a month? How many miles a year do you lease? They don't give the customer options. They don't say, this is how much it's going to cost. This is how much the best lease is. They don't do that anymore. And because they don't do that, that gives us the ability to do in the finance department. So we don't have to, I see nothing wrong with looking at a deal and restructuring that deal based on the conversation you have with the customer. For example, in finance, customer comes in 84 months. What's wrong with switching them to 72 months? They come in at 60 months. What's wrong with extending the term to 66 or 72 months, so on and so forth? So you're leasing the vehicle for 36 months. Did you want coverage for the whole time you're leasing it? What do you mean? Well, you have a 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty, but you're going 48,000 miles on the lease. Do you want the coverage for the whole time you're leasing the vehicle? Well, what do you mean? Well, I mean, you only have a vehicle you only have a vehicle warranty on the vehicle. Did you want coverage for your tires and wheels? Did you want coverage for dings and dents, so on and so forth? Again, just opening up dialogue with the customer. So let's talk about how to present a lease menu that allows you to disclose all the products in a relevant manner to your customer, and then at the end, ask them to close. So the base lease payment of $450 includes a 3-year, 36,000 mile of full mechanical electrical breakdown coverage from the factory. There's a number of lease options to enhance your lease experience by limiting your exposure to non-essential expenses. May I share them with you? That's an intelligent way of saying, let me show you what's available. So now you go right into your option or menu disclosure. And basically, I like to call the first column the worry-free column. And this has every option that's available on a lease with the exception of service contract. And I will mention service contracts for a moment. We were talking, I don't know if Frank's on the line, if it was Frank or it was Tom. At one point, we did a personal training webinar, and it came up where, what's wrong with, during your initial conversation with the customer, during your interview with the customer, you ask the customer, what do you plan on doing at the end of the lease? And they say, well, I might buy it out. I might give it to my grandson. I'm really not sure what I'm going to do. What's wrong with presenting them a service contract and saying to them on a 3-year, 36,000 mile lease, look, folks, I've listed a service contract here. It's a 6-year, 75,000 mile service contract. And the reason I did that is because if you do decide to keep the car at the end of the lease, you'll still have basically factory coverage, because this is an exclusionary coverage policy, or it's a factory wrap. And if you do decide to lease another one, you're going to get half that money back that you can apply to the next vehicle. I thought that was a really good idea. So I just want to bring that up. It's not on the menu here, but it's something, if you discover that the customer is going to be doing something different than just turning in their lease, I think it's a good idea to present a service contract in that manner. So the excess wear and tear, mechanical gap, which is the elite free care, tire and wheel, paintless, prepaid maintenance, key replacement, paint and fab, paintless and removal, and theft. that would all go into the worry-free column. And I'm going to share with you on the next slide how I would explain the products to the customer. And then go through that column and in a quick, relevant, pays for this, excess wear and tear, pays for damage to the vehicle at the end of the lease, up to $5,000 of excess wear and tear in $1,000 increments. The mechanical gap will pay for those maintenance items that aren't covered by the manufacturer or through your maintenance program. Tire and wheel pays for damage to your tires and wheels when they encounter any type of road hazard, such as a pothole, nail, or glass for the whole lease term. And I would say for the lease term, the prepaid maintenance is set up for every 5,000 miles during the lease term. Key replacement will pay for lost, stolen, or if you have to reprogram the keys during the lease contract. Paint and fab does protect the vehicle and keeps the vehicle looking new longer, so that you pride of ownership throughout the lease term. The paintless dent removal will pay to have minor dings or dents removed that disrespectful people put in the vehicle. And theft will pay you a dollar amount should the vehicle be stolen and not recovered or deemed a total loss. Any questions about the worry-free option before I move to the next option? No, none. All right. So what I call this column is the practical option. Now, I've become a 2 to 3 column guy, F&I guy, not a 4 column. I think the 4 column is a waste of energy. There's a lot there. I know many of you use Darwin. You either have the choice of a 2 column or a 4 column. I know the columns are lopsided. I would always show the worry-free column first and then go to the DNA column. This is the driver's needs analysis based on the information you share with us. So the practical option, you can include anything you want, but you explain the practical option as this is what we see most likely to happen during the course of a lease. It includes virtually every component of the worry-free option, but there is one key difference. It's going to save you some money because it's a bundle. And you know how bundles work, which I'm going to discuss with you guys, ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes. And then the third column I would call the core option. This is just the basic coverages for a lease. Excess wear and tear, tire and wheel, and prepaid maintenance. And then you could go and you could use the 4th column on a downwind menu as a DNA, okay? And I like to call that the core plus option, which includes theft as well. So you'll have a monetary benefit in case you carry your golf clubs around, the vehicle gets stolen, or the computer's in the car, you know? That's the menu presentation. And at the end, it all adds up to which lease enhancement option or which lease enhancement works best for you. I challenge finance managers all over the country. I shouldn't say all over the country, but wherever I go in the several states I do go, take a pad of paper or a piece of paper and jot down, just make a hash mark every time you ask that question, regardless of the finance deal, cash deal, or lease deal, which option works best for you. And then besides that hash mark, list the number of products that you sold. I'm going to tell you something right now. The more times you ask which option works best for you, the more products you're going to sell. It's just that simple. So if you're not asking, if you don't condition yourself to ask that question, which option works best for you, you're doing yourself a big disservice. Now, this is the dialogue that I would use. I'm going to take them all. I'll add it all up there. But excess wear and tear. Keep it simple. Be straightforward with it. You don't have to glamorize it, elaborate on it. Excess wear pays up to $5,000 in defects such as, and then mention chipped glass, bent rims, scuffed rims, near bald tires, so on and so forth. The multi-shield pays for the repair replacement of the most common and unexpected defects and hazards that happen while owning or leasing a vehicle, such as repairs minor dings and dents, repairs windshield, replaces keys, repairs keys. The Carefree Elite pays for several maintenance and wear items that the manufacturer doesn't cover during the warranty period. Tire and wheel pays for the repair replacement of the most vulnerable part of the vehicle, the only component that hits the road. Paint and Fab does protect the vehicle from the elements such as bird droppings, tree sap, keeps the interior of the vehicle looking new and exterior looking newer and longer. Will clean up or fix water, oil-based stains. The paintless dent removal, it's revolutionized the world of minor dent repair. It's a process and an art and a skill that technicians use to remove those unsightly minor dings and dents and creases from the vehicle while maintaining the integrity of the factory or custom paint finish. Windshield repair versus windshield application. Windshield repair, instead of replacing your windshield, which is an integral part of the vehicle, it compromises the safety of the vehicle, the integrity of the vehicle, have the windshield repaired. The windshield application, such as Crystal Fusion or any other one that you would use, it does make the windshield stronger, up to 10 times stronger. That reduces the damage from road debris. It also cuts down night glare, making it safer to see at night. What do you think of all the technology and safety features in these vehicles? Oh man, they have a number of safety features. That's the reason I'm buying this car. And the minute you say it makes it safer to drive at night, you're probably gonna sell a windshield application. So before I move to the next slide, I'll open it up for any dialogue. Anybody want to add anything here? Love to hear from you. No?
Yep,
Okay.
nothing, Gerry.
Nothing? All right. Anything? Okay. All right. And then key replacement, pace of repair replacement, the keys when they become lost, stolen, or inoperative. Inoperative. That means they don't work. They're computers. So, common customer concerns. We did this exercise the last time. I challenge you, financial services managers on this webinar, I challenge you to take this slide and do exactly what I'm going to do right now. I challenge every vendor partner, every partner on the, every agent, regional rep, vice president on this line to take this slide and stick it in front of a finance manager and see how fast they can come up with these answers. Number one, I just don't want it. Don't tell me you don't want it. You want it, you just don't want to pay for it. I can't afford it. I'm on a budget. You're not on a budget. You're buying a friggin' Cadillac. You just don't want to pay for it. Oh, come on, man. I don't want my payment to go up. I understand the last thing you want to happen when you come in my office is payment to go up. It doesn't have to. Let's extend the lease term. All right, how about this one? That's a lot of money. It might seem like a lot of money on the surface, but look at all it does. Let's break it down. I'll take my chances. You don't want to take your chances. You telling me you see a risk? Yeah. Well, why do you want to assume that risk? Let someone else assume that risk. Had it before and never used it. I love that one. You know, you probably felt you wasted your money. Yeah, I did. No, but you didn't. You had peace of mind. That's something you can't buy. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. Wouldn't you like that peace of mind this time around? Sure. Sign me up. I don't own the vehicle. What difference does it make? You still want to keep it looking pristine, right? You're still going to take care of it, right? What if you do decide to buy it? You know, I don't own the vehicle. That's ridiculous. You know, I was talking to someone the other day. I'm self-insured, and one of the finance managers has been doing business in the box for 20 years says out loud, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I have never heard someone say to me, I'm self-insured. We make that assumption that the customer's self-insured, okay? So I just wanted to mention that. I never had a problem in the past. Well, does that mean you're guaranteed not to have a problem in your future? Who knows? You know, I don't have no crystal ball. I can't predict the weather. I can't predict the road conditions. I can't predict other people's parking and driving habits. Can you? How about, do I have to let you know now, or can I think about it? Obviously, you would not have asked me that question if you weren't somewhat interested in this program. Can I make that assumption, sir? Yes, sir. So if you're telling me you want to let me know later, why would you want to let me know later when you can add it to the lease right now? Or how about if you're telling me, can I think about it? Obviously, I got to ask you, what are you going to think about? Maybe I can answer it right now. Here's the point. As finance managers, this is what we do for a living, and we have to be quick-witted. I'm not saying this is a training lesson. I'm not saying that you're going to do directly at your customer like that, but you have to have the confidence to be able to do that. I had a conversation with Ashley and Frank prior to this webinar, and we were talking about the difference between a Cadillac buyer and a Buick buyer, and how a Cadillac buyer today, and this makes sense, they're different than Cadillac buyers before. I mean, my dad was a Cadillac buyer, you know, gray hair, smoked a cigar, big Cadillac, drove it. You know, people buy Cadillacs now because they're monster trucks. I mean, just the feel of getting in a Cadillac, you know, they don't want to drive a Lexus. They don't want to drive a Mercedes. They don't want to be the in crowd. They want to be a step ahead of the in crowd. So they buy this Cadillac. You can treat them differently, all right? It's the Buick customer that's out there grinding. You got to treat them differently too. So look at your audience, okay, and become a chameleon. We talked about it in the past. I was told not to buy it. That's another one I love. I look right at the customer. I go, gee, you know, I get it. You were told not to buy it, but mind if I ask you, who told you not to buy it? And I wait. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. The person who probably told you not to buy it probably lives on the beach or lives on the water and drives a Ferrari and makes millions of dollars a year. Because look, based on what I see on your credit app, and based on the fact that you didn't want to put any money down or can't put money down, and based on the fact that you want your payments at $350 a month, that person who's telling you not to buy it, is he going to pay for it? Oh, I got an idea. Why don't you not buy it? Have a problem, call him and say, I took your advice. Will you send me a check? What do you think they're going to say? They're going to tell you to pound sand. Get your customer talking. I love transition statements. John, what do you think of transition statements?
It's the only way.
Only way. And we throw transition statements out at you all the time. Maybe another way of looking at it. What is it about this that concerns you? You know what? I'm curious. And the customer's going to look at it and you go, curious about what? And then you're going to tell them. How about this? I'm surprised. What are you surprised at? I'm surprised you didn't select any of these options, especially based on the information you shared with me earlier. What are you talking about? Let me tell you. As you know, the road conditions out here are really, really bad, especially on the roads that you drive on. Based on the information you shared with me earlier, you may want to reconsider your decision not to enroll in that tire and wheel program. Mind if I share something with you? How about this one? Do you mind if I ask you a question? That's a transition statement. What do you mind if I ask you a question? Now I know it's New York. In some cases, they're going to say yes, I do mind, in Boston. But in most places, and I'm not just talking Alabama, they're going to say no, I don't mind. Go ahead, ask me a question, and you ask them a legitimate question. Do you mind if I share something with you? When you pique a customer's interest and you say to them, because listen, I don't want it. Oh, come on, man. Don't tell me you don't want it. Everybody wants it. It's just a question of paying for it. You're right. I don't want to pay for it. Okay, fine. There may be another way of looking at it. You mind if I share something with you? There may be another way of looking at it. Before I share something with you, mind if I ask you a question? Okay? Man, I'm really surprised that you didn't select anything. It's just a matter of cost, right? These are all get your customer to open up to you. And then what is it about the coverage that concerns you? Is it and then 1 minute should be 2 minutes. Is it the cost? Yeah, I don't want to spend the extra money. Okay. What's your understanding of your responsibility at lease end? It doesn't matter how many cars they leased. If they lease 10 cars, I don't think a finance manager has asked them that question. I drop it off. Not necessarily anymore. 90 days prior to your lease end, they're going to send you a termination kit. And they're going to give you an opportunity to either inspect the vehicle yourself or set up an appointment for an inspection. You know why they do that? No, why? Because the cost at the lease end is cost them, and it's a fact, over $5 billion a year in excess damage. Here's the factory doesn't pay for it. The dealer ends up buying it and they fix it. But the point I'm trying to make is ask that question. You open up better dialogue. What's your understanding of the cost to replace those keys, those tires, those wheels, to repair a minor ding or dent, or what effect a minor ding or dent may have at lease ends? Ask these questions. Open up the customer's mind. Why do you think the leaser, the company they're leasing from, limits the liability to only normal wear and use? Customers don't know that. It's right in the back of the contract. They limit their liability to normal wear and use, and there's nothing on that contract that states what it is. There's no law in the country that states what it is. So when you go through your menu presentation and you say to the customer which lease enhancement option works best for you, and they say none, you simply look at them and say, gee, I'm surprised. Or that's okay. Most people tell me they don't want to spend the extra money. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Then you open up these questions and you open up dialogue, and now you're able to go into some of the closes I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. You may want to reconsider your enrolling in the programs because of what you said to me earlier, what you mentioned to me earlier, or how you turned in this lease. Have a reason. So buying cars is different today. The consumer buys cars differently. They don't go to the dealership and say, I want that car. They go to that dealership, can I get that car? Yeah, we can get that car. And they place a pre-order. And it's unfortunate, or as it turns out, I should say, in most cases, the finance manager doesn't get involved until the car is either in transit or on the lot. I think it's really important that finance managers get involved way early in the process. The minute the customer places that order, you introduce yourself either physically or over the phone, and you stay on top of that deal with the sales staff, and you become part of the workings of that deal and the progress of that deal. So when the customer sits in front of you, they know who you are, they know what you do, and the expectations have been made. Throughout the course of progress of that deal, from the placement of the order to the time it hits the truck, to the time it hits the lot, you can ask these questions of the customer and learn so much about them, so that when they're sitting in front of you, you go through this stuff and you solidify all the things and reasons why they should enroll in these programs. I think it's imperative that we do that we have the willingness. We need to change our mindset. We need to change our process, our approach as financial services managers, because of the way people are buying cars today. And just because the manufacturer doesn't cover it doesn't mean it can't be covered. I love that line. I learned that line from a Lexus dealer in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ken, I forget Ken's last name, but he threw that at me one day in a training session with him, and I just love it. I mean, he often says to the Lexus customer, you know, just because Lexus doesn't cover it, it doesn't mean it can't be covered. What are you talking about? They're only covering you for 4 years and 50,000 miles on a warranty, mechanical breakdowns. What coverage do you have for disrespectful people, tires and wheels, so on and so forth? It just makes so much sense. It opens the customer's mind. So, selling to the lease customer, the leasee. Again, you like the option or options, you just don't see enough. I want you to look at that enough. Stop saying you don't see any value. Change any to enough. Because when you say, and I've been saying it for years, when you don't see any value. And then I realized one day, the reaction of a customer when you say you don't see any value and they say, you're right, I don't, you're almost like dead in the water. But when you say you don't see enough value to pay the additional cost, they say, right, I don't see enough value. There may be another way of looking at it. That opens the door. There may be another way of looking at it. You mentioned to me earlier. Let me share something with you. So they talked about their ownership span, what they're going to do during the lease, what they're going to do after the lease. You mentioned to me earlier, and that's one of the reasons why I think you should reconsider your decision. The benefits of leasing, when you ask them, what do you see as the benefit of leasing? You bring that back, you regurgitate it back to them. The type of driving they do, these are the reasons why you should consider this product or that product. I wanted coverage for the whole lease. All you have is coverage for mechanical breakdowns, like owning an apartment. Seriously, that's a close. Leasing a car is like owning an apartment. If the air conditioner goes out, who's going to fix it? Landlord. If the roof leaks, who's going to fix it? The landlord. If you have to replace the carpet, who's going to do that? You're going to have to do that. If you have to fix the walls, who's going to do that? You're going to do that, okay? So it's like leasing an apartment. You want to have coverage for those non-essential expenses once you turn the lease in. The customer's view of technology or safety features. All you want to do is ask them in the beginning, put it in your toolbox and bring it out later by saying, you mentioned me earlier, and then opening up their mind. So I get it. You like the option, you don't see enough value and pay the extra money. Maybe another, do you mind if I ask you a question? What's your understanding of your responsibility at lease end? What's your understanding of the cost to replace those low profile sport tires and rims? The cost to repair, reprogram, replace the key fob? Key fob, make sure you say key fob, not keys, key fob. Your insurance covered responsibility should you have to repair a minor ding or dent. How about your insurance covered responsibility should you have to repair a windshield? I'll go back to that slide. Any questions? Comments? All right, moving right along. So I told the story many times for those of you who've been on these webinars in the past. I was sitting having dinner with my wife. My wife says, you know what your problem is, Gerry? I go, I don't have a problem, honey. She goes, yeah, you do. You're reactive. You're not proactive. I go, yeah, I do react to situations. I'll be honest with you. I'm proactive, she says. I go, what's that supposed to mean? She goes, I wear a life jacket to work. I go, you wear a life jacket to work? Yeah, I have to throw you a life preserver all the time. That's ridiculous. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, which would you prefer to be, proactive or reactive? What do you mean? Well, be proactive, take out all the products now and pay as you go, get them fixed as you go, or reactive, fix it at the end of the lease. What do you want to do? Or you could do both, all right? You could do both. But you have to be something. You have to be proactive or reactive. You can't just sit out there and wonder what's going on. Now, wear a life jacket to work. I have one thrown at you when you have a problem. That's what we mean. Plan, prepare, perform. You need to do a little research, okay? How many finance managers do we know have this type of visual at their disposal? Ready to show a customer. These are the common things that happen at lease end or during the lease. And this 2%. Is the average cost. Go ahead, John.
2% maybe. I don't
it's
see
got to be 100%. I'm not talking, the biggest mistake financial services managers make is they stick this friggin' thing on their desk and the customer comes in and they get, oh, they're going to try to sell me something. That's a neon sign. Have it available. Have it ready, accessible. Don't have it hanging out there for the customer to see. Bring it out. Do you mind if I share something with you? What I mean by plan,
make sure the price points fit the vendor or the OEM that they're selling.
What's that, Mike? Come again?
No, I was saying, and then a big portion is to make sure the price points fit the OEM that they're selling. Like if you're in a Mercedes dealership and you're showing them that tires cost $200 per tire, it's, a little bit off basis when the average tire is $550.
That's a really good point. Toyota, for those of you who work in a Toyota dealership, I forget the name of the web, it's on their Toyota. I don't think the Toyota website, you have the ability to go in there and take a Tundra and it will tell you the average repair for your shop. Toyota, I think, is one of the only manufacturers that do that. I have a couple of Toyota dealerships that do that out in Pennsylvania. It works well because it shows a picture of the Tundra and they say this is the average cost of repairs in our shop. And and they go right to the Toyota website, which is cool. Very cool. So what I mean by plan, prepare, and perform is you need to do some research. You need to Google excess wear. You need to Google technology, vehicle technology. You need to Google vehicle safety features. You need to Google this stuff, take the pictures, and like Mike said, make sure they're applied to your manufacturer, and then share this information with the customer. Here's some more research we've done in the past. Your customer has 4 primary responsibilities and 3 liabilities. Number 1, they need to make the payments on the car. This is a close. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I don't know if you realize, but you do have 4 primary responsibilities. You mind if I share that with you? No, go right ahead. Well, the first responsibility you have, obviously, to make the payments, and I see no problem. You never had a problem in the past. You have to insure the vehicle, which you've already verified the insurance. You have to maintain the vehicle according to the manufacturer's recommendation. If something should go wrong mechanically and it wasn't maintained, then you're going to be liable for that. And then you have to return the vehicle. This is the most important one, in satisfactory condition. Now, things have changed, all right? You see, there's 3 levels of coverage. You have physical damage coverage. That's your insurance company's responsibility. So if you have an accident and exceeds your deductible of $1,000, you're going to have to get it fixed. The excess wear and tear program, if it doesn't exceed $1,000, will repair the damage or pay to have the damage repaired at lease end. Then there's excess wear and use. That's your responsibility, okay? Not the lease companies. The lease company is only responsible for normal wear and use. It's right here in the back of the contract. So that's the pyramid. Those are the 3 areas of coverage that you should be concerned with when leasing this vehicle. Now, let's talk about liability. Your insurance company is liable for the physical damage. You're liable for the excess wear, and the lessor is liable for the normal wear. So don't you think the excess wear or some of these other programs will benefit you where your liability is and to limit your liability? That's a great close. Great close. Any questions or comments on that close? Anybody want to add anything? And these are, again, all available on Product Prep. Here's another close. Show and tell. May I share something with you? Here's some information I think you'll find interesting. So I did a little research. Puncture repair. You can't repair tires today the way they're manufactured, especially, run flat, so on and so forth. This article right here, because the customer said, well, I'll just fix the tire. It only cost me $40, $50. You throw that article in front of you. I think I have something that you find interesting. Bam. Carfax, everybody's familiar with Carfax. Car replacement, how to replace any key fob. It tells you how expensive they are. And it also recommends a key replacement program. This sheet was done in 2016. I updated it in 2021. Over $15 billion, $15 billion, $5 billion a year, over the last 5 years, 15 billion in tire repair in the United States, in New York and the Midwestern states I mentioned in the article. Someone says you have AAA. After you go through your presentation, I'm all set. I got AAA. Oh, great. You mind if I share something with you? And by the way, what is AAA's responsibility? I'm going to get into that in a moment. Sell to the lead. This is where you bring out the brochures. I have something I want to share with you. I think you'll find it interesting. You may want to put this brochure in front of a customer when they say no, and you kind of pique their interest. You put this brochure in front of them and say, okay, I'm going to print the final paperwork. While I'm printing the paperwork, I think I have something interesting that you should look at, and drop it in front of them. You'd be surprised how many customers will look at you and say, explain this to me again. How much was this again? Because no one's ever going to pick up a brochure and say, hey, how much is this? But if you force feed the brochure to them and have them read the brochure and see the benefits in writing rather than just verbally, because remember, 65% of the customers that are sitting in front of you are visual learners, all right? So your talking is only 7% of what's going on. Now, this is where you bring out the brochure or the placemat when they say no. How about then there's Flo? Okay. You notice she's wearing a life jacket? She's being proactive, you see? She goes to work every day and she's ready for any peril that happens. No one's going to have to throw her a life jacket. And what do I mean? Then there's Flo. You can thank Frank for this one, okay? I love this. Bundles. I'm going to tell you something. You should be selling, bundles should be falling off the shelf on a lease customer. One of the nice things about the bundle is they put multiple products and services together and make it more attractive and economical. You know, the manufacturer limits the liability components they have control over because they built it. They have control over the mechanical aspects of the vehicle because you're required to maintain the vehicle. And they know that something that's being maintained is very unlikely to break down. You're required to assist the manufacturer in their responsibility by maintaining the vehicle as recommended by the manufacturer. Outside the manufacturer's warranty, you have no relief for the perils of ownership. The bundle will fill the gap. What does the bundle cover? And what does the bundle do? It enhances your lease ownership by limiting your exposure to non-essential expenses, such as damage to tires and wheels, damage to your windshield, minor paintless dings and dents, key replacement or repair, and then extended roadside assistance. That's what the bundle does. So, what do I got? I got prop it up. How many times have we shared this close with you? And how many times, John, Mike, have we had finance managers use it?
A lot.
And it works, doesn't it?
It does.
It's a kill to close. Customer has a cell phone sitting on your desk, or if they don't, hand them a calculator. Everybody budgets, but they don't write it down. They have a budget. They keep enough money in the bank to pay their bills, to pay their car payments, pay their insurance, to pay their mortgage, to pay all the incidentals, their food, everything. Most people carry an ATM around and do it that way. Some people use their credit card and pay the bill out at the end of the month because the money's in the bank. But everybody has the money to pay for what they need, the essentials, okay? It's the non-essentials that we're talking about. And everybody I know has what we call disposable income. Because the same person that's sitting in front of you and says, I'm on a budget, I can't afford it, I don't want to spend any more money, is the same person who's going to leave your office and stop at Starbucks and buy a $4 coffee. It's the same person who's going to run into Jersey Mike's and buy a $10, $12 sub. It's that same person. That's what we call disposable income. Now, do you think $1, $2 a day is going to change that person's lifestyle in any way, shape, or manner? Of course not. So you need to show them the close. Here's the deal. I like to call it the platinum close. Why? Because it makes the most sense in the world, especially when you got someone on the fence. I understand you don't see enough value in the products to spend the extra money. There may be another way of looking at it. Do you mind if I share something with you? I know though the $38 a month additional seems like a lot of money. There may be another way of looking at it. You mind if I share something with you? Hand them the phone, have them open their phone to the calculator, hand them the calculator. And you say to them, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, on most days, I spend between $5 and $10 a day. How much do you spend on most days? And they say, about the same. But I still maintain my savings account or checking account to have enough money to pay all my bills. Do you do the same? Of course. That's what they say to you. Of course I do. Okay, so let me share something with you. All right. Your base payment or your base lease payment is $483, and you're comfortable with that, right? Yeah. But you do like the products. You just can't see yourself spending the extra 38 bucks. Right. Well, let's break it down a little bit. I'm sorry, it says the extra payment, it should say, I apologize, is $38. Whatever the product is, or whatever the products are, the additional payment is $38. If you take the 483 that you're comfortable with, divide that by 30, which is the average numbers in a month, that means you're spending $16.10 a day. Let's round it down to 16 bucks. You're spending $16 a day, whether you know it or not. That car could be sitting idle in a parking lot for a week. You're still paying $16 a day. Now, let's take that $38 divided by the same 30. That's $1.27. $1.27? That's ridiculous. You're right, that is ridiculous. Is $1.27 a day going to change your lifestyle in any way, shape, or form? What are most customers going to say to you? Hell no. Then just buy the product for $17.37 a day. You have what you want. Peace of mind. You never have to spend more than $1.27 a day to have that peace of mind. Steve, what do you think they're going to say?
I like it. You're right. You broke it down to me. You made it stupid simple. A lot of people don't want to raise their payment, but when you break it down to $1.27 a day or $1.25 a day or whatever, it's not that big of a difference, like you just said.
And here's the thing. This is the mistake that a lot of financial services managers make. They don't do this whole close. What they do is they say, hey, it's only $1 a day. You got to visual. You got to write it down. You got to put them at the 16 bucks. And then another buck, I'm already spending 16. What's another buck? I'm already spending 20. What's another buck? I'm already spending 8. What's another 50 cents? If you don't bring them through this close, it's not going to have the same effect. That's my point. So to say, it's a Red Bull or Starbucks a day, you're taking that Starbucks or Red Bull away from them. This close is definitely the platinum close, especially when you have a customer on the fence. And I understand you don't see enough value, but you do see some value. Maybe I can share something with you. Knowing that you like the product, just don't want to spend the extra money. Take a look at this. What do you think of that? That's pretty cool. I'll take it. With that said, conclusion. You need to know all the lease enhancement features and benefits firsthand. They roll off your lips. Next, you got to get the you told me so's by having a dialogue with your customer throughout the progression of the sale or at the sale prior to delivering the vehicle. Develop strong transition statements. Do some research so you're better prepared when the customer says no. Don't fear the objection. Learn how to handle it. Show and tell them, because just telling them isn't enough. You got to show and tell. Develop a really good track to run on, a word track to run on. There's nothing wrong with word tracks. Be consistent in your process. Done deal. So I'm opening up for questions, comments, anything like that. If there aren't any, then I'll have to say see you in 2 weeks.
Jerry, I think this is dynamite, especially up in the tri-state area. We're running like 70, 80, 75 to 85% leasing right now. So it's awesome.
Throw the finance manager in front of them, Steve, and have them sit down for an hour and look at this webinar. It's very impactful. There's a lot of good information. And by the way, this information comes from you guys. I do a lot of research. It's all about research. This is our profession. Research your profession and then arm yourself with really good dialogue, confidence, and go out there and kill it.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Have a
Very
wonderful
appreciate it.
weekend.
You
And
got it, Jerry. Thank you.
happy Cinco de Mayo. Have a tequila on me.
Enjoy those margaritas. Later.
All right.
Take
See you
care.
guys.
Thanks for great stuff.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.